Welcome, everyone, to the Meaningful Hearts Podcast, where we discuss the everyday questions that make us or break us if we let them. I am your host, Drew. Take my hand and let's walk this journey together. Welcome, everyone, back to another episode. And today I want to talk about the willingness to embrace change. Am I willing to embrace the fact that life is forever reconfiguring? And will I do my best to work with it or put all of my energy towards keeping it from changing, keeping me in my comfort? Now, neuroscience research teaches us that uncertainty registers in our brain much like an error does on a computer. It needs to be corrected so we can feel comfortable again. It's like, well, something's off here. Things are just not going the way they're supposed to. So I got to correct that because I got to keep myself comfortable. I got to keep the body has to keep itself comfortable. So it goes through whatever drastic changes it needs to in order to get the body level back and comfortable. So we'd rather not have that hanging out there if we can avoid it. We also fear change because we fear what we might lose and what's associated with that change. Well, that makes kind of sense. You're fighting your own biological makeup by actually going against it, and your body's like, no, wait, that's not right. It's not right. What are you doing? Stop. This is putting yourself in a very uncomfortable situation, and I don't like it. So it's natural for your body to say, chill out, relax. Don't do that. It's unsafe. It's unknown. So when you decide that you want to go against that, it's an uphill battle. But once we've restrained ourselves to embrace this change, it's no longer an error, it's a habit. So if you keep fighting that uphill battle and you say, you know what, I'm not listening to my body, I know this is good for me, and keep going and pushing forward, your body's not going to read it as an error, it's going to become a new part of your life. So you can actually retrain your body. You have to be conscious of it, though. You have to be conscious of the mind. You have to be conscious of these things. And you have to be diligent at making it part of your life, making it a habit, pretty much creating a new comfort. But this comfort is not necessarily one that's going to keep you complacent, but you're comfortable in the fact that you are changing and you're allowing this change to occur, and it takes effort. Because your body will also tell you, stay in bed. It's cold out there. It's uncomfortable. You're in a nice warm blanket. It's a winter day, but you have to get up. You got to go to the gym maybe early before work. You have some things and tasks that you have to take care of. Your body's like, nah, you could just stay here and embrace this and go back to sleep. And sometimes we make that mistake. We do, right? We go back to sleep. We go back to rest. And it's like, great, feels good, but we don't get anything done. We don't get anything done at all. So if you listen to your body and you listen to all those things, it's not going to give you progress. You might lose your job if you have to go to work, relationships, your inability to exercise, and it'll end up in poor health. These are just some things. I mean, there's tons of things. There's a lot of times we don't want to do something, but we have to do it. We have to. You know, we're designed to stay away from discomfort and pain. This is known. This is normal. But these things come at a cost. So choose wisely. I get it. You come home, you're tired, you want to rest. You do need rest. You do. But there are times where to make strides in your life, to get places in life, you have to go through the gauntlet. And it's not fun. It's not a pretty sight. You have to sometimes lose some sleep. You have to push yourself harder than you've ever pushed yourself, and you will be dead, tired, and you still got to push yourself a little more. It's part of the progress. The reward at the end is what you're trying to achieve. The reward is what you're trying to go for. The progress. And it gets a little bit easier incrementally. If you've ever been to the gym, if you've ever gone and worked out, if you ever tried to train for a marathon, you're not going to start running a marathon and expect great results. You're going to be tired. You got to incrementally increase your capacity, your agility, your endurance. These are things that have to be increased. So at first, you're going to be like, oh man, I can't even run a mile. How am I going to run a marathon? Well, you have to incrementally increase the amount of distance that you're running. You got to push yourself a little harder each time. But every time you go back to it, you're going to see that you're going to be able to exceed where you once struggled. You're not going to struggle anymore. And that's the beauty of the body, right? Your body's telling you, no, there's an error. Don't do that. Don't do that. And you exceed it. And then you go back to it again. Your body doesn't read the codes, those error codes the same way anymore. Your body's like, no, you're good. You're good. How is that? How is that possible? Because you're retraining yourself. You're actually, a computer software is only going to read errors that it's trained to read. But you can reprogram a computer. You can reprogram yourself in order to be better, in order to make strides. Change is not a bad thing, but change brings fear upon us in so many different ways. Socially, social is a big one. Social change somebody's social environment, and at first they're going to feel they're going to feel depressed. They're going to feel sad. They're going to feel fearful, uncomfortable, and want to run right back to where they were. Now, not all situations are the same. And there is good reason why you should always weigh out those decisions. But for the most part, you're automatically going to feel those things. You're automatically going to kind of want to go back to what's comfortable to you. It's like leaving your home and going to a foreign place. You're going to be homesick. You're going to think about the familiar people in your life that make you feel comfortable and happy. And now you're meeting new people that you've never met before in a strange place you've never been. But then if you stick it out long enough, those people become part of your life. And to leave those people behind, to come back home, maybe to visit your family, you become homesick for them, or you miss them. Now, how is that? You have single-handedly trained yourself to adjust to change. And you've reprogrammed yourself in order to accept the change. And the change becomes part of your comfort now. And now nobody's saying to stay comfortable forever, but there's always a new norm of comfort. You grew up in the environment that you're in, and that becomes what your baseline is. But it wasn't always like that. Your body adjusted and changed to that because that's all you know. It's with anything. So change is one of those things that you have to go through in order to make strides in your life. Now, are you a person that is willing to embrace change is the question. That's the bigger question. If you're not willing to embrace the changes that are necessary to become something different, you will never, ever, ever, ever live to your full potential. You will not. You might be happy with what you're at. Status quo, you're happy. Or, I'm sorry, poor choice. Happy is a long-term thing, right? Which pretty much doesn't exist. People can't be happy all the time. Experience joy, moments of joy, spurts of joy in your life. Yes, these things might give you spurts of joy, but in the long run, you're always going to have those downsides where you're going to be like, you know what? I want more out of my life. And it brings you right back to, well, I have to make a change. I have to make a change. I have to do something different to get a new result. But if I don't do that, I won't get a new result. I mean, I could live in a fantasy world where thinking that's possible, but it really does not work that way. So you have to confront your computer, your errors that you have that tell you, no, don't do that. And you have to bypass them. And you have to reprogram them. And it takes steps. It's never going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to slowly make these changes. You want to progress in your career. That's fine. You want to make lateral movements to a different part of your industry. Well, you have to dive in to what that's going to take, and you got to break it down in steps. I speak about this in the past, about goals, how to set smaller goals for bigger ones. You have to evolve and become the change you want to be But that change comes over time. You're not going to be an Olympic athlete in one day if you want to train. You can't work out one day and become an Olympic athlete. That takes years of practice and training and real hardcore mental strength. You can prepare. And that's what I'm asking you to do, to prepare for the change. Set yourself up for the best possible outcome and have your expectations dumbed down a little bit, because there are major things you could do in your life in shorter periods of time, but you also have to be realistic with the process. Be realistic with what it takes, and don't get down on yourself when this change doesn't happen immediately, or where you might fall into the sleeping longer hours or not getting out of bed. We get it. I get it. I make mistakes. I fuck up. I do. I do all the time. It's what you do after that counts. Starting from scratch and saying, you know what? I messed up, but today's a new day. Let's go back at that change, because it is going to be a battle with your body. It's going to be a battle with your mind. It's going to be constant. And depending on what you're trying to achieve in your life, it's going to be very, very difficult. The problems you're trying to solve. And this never ends. Don't think this ends. This never ends. Depending on how far you're willing to go in your journey, this will never end. But you have to learn how to embrace it. Anytime you're making a transitional point in your life, just know the change is coming and fear is coming. And your body's like, no, we're not going to do that. It's too scary. But things aren't going to be the same anymore. You're not going to have the comfort you had before. You shouldn't do this. I'm telling you, it's bad. And then you do it, and your body's like, oh, I like this now. This is okay. This is a great place to be. That's all it really comes down to, is being aware that the change is taking place and know that on the other side, you're going to be okay and things are going to get better. But you have to go through that gauntlet. You have to go through that mental transition, and you have to embrace it. Do not spend your energy. A lot of people do this too. You think that just staying on the other side of the coin, the other side where you don't make the change because it's comfortable, is good for you either. Because there are many times where you're sitting there going, I am miserable, or I don't like where I'm at, but I'm just too scared to make the change because it's uncomfortable. But where you're at is uncomfortable indefinitely. You're spending more energy fighting the change than you are to actually make the change necessary to have a better life. So embrace the change. Embrace it. Be willing to be uncomfortable. I just started taking cold showers again. Cold showers. It's good for your mental health. It's good for lowering inflammation in your body. It's good for a lot of things. Health-wise, it's great. Boosts your immune system. Great. Is it fun? Hell no. Is it easy? Definitely not. And guess what? I don't know where you guys live, but I live on the East Coast. I live in New York, and it's cold. So cold weather says, you know what? Warm showers. But I do this every shower that I take a cold shower. Morning, night, does not matter. How I'm feeling. I wake up super early to do this. And every time it's a challenge. I have to fight with myself in order to do this. And there are times where I'm like, I don't want to do it, but I push myself to do it. But after I'm done, after I actually make the decision to embrace it and go for it, and I go through it, on the other side, I feel so good. It really is rewarding. I mean, it is cold, but it is rewarding. And if you haven't tried that, please do. I am going to have a whole episode on the benefits of taking cold showers. That's coming up later, but not for me to deviate from what we're talking about. I'm just saying that change is necessary. Am I not gonna take a cold shower? I don't know what the foreseeable future is. I'm going to be as diligent as I can be on continuing this process, but we all falter. But if you falter, it doesn't mean that you just give up and that's it, and you revert back to what you know. Don't do that. Failing is okay. We're allowed to fail. It's what you do after that is what matters. So I love everyone that listens. I love even the people that aren't listening that should listen. What I am telling you is, if you do not embrace change in your life, don't be upset with the results that you get. But if you decide one day that you want to embrace change and you want to say, yes, I'm going to be better than I was the day before, I commend you on that. And always remember that it is not easy. Don't think this is easy. It's not supposed to be easy. But the reward that you get at the end of that is what makes it all worth it in the end. Thank you all for listening. I love you all, and I will talk to you again on the next one. Have a blessed week.